The sky above the quiet farming planet burned orange and red as something huge fell through the clouds. Farmer Kim Dae-ho looked up from feeding his chickens and saw a streak of fire racing across the afternoon sky. The thing was big, bigger than any aircraft he had ever seen, and it was coming down fast. "Kids, get inside the house," Dae-ho called to his 3 children who were playing in the vegetable garden. But they did not listen. They stood there looking up at the sky with wonder in their eyes. 16-year-old Minji shaded her eyes with her hand. "Father, what is that thing?" "I don't know," Dae-ho said, "but it's going to crash somewhere close." The burning object roared over their small farm and slammed into the rice fields on the other side of their property. The ground shook like an earthquake. Their old dog started barking. The chickens ran around making loud noises. Even their cow Bokshil mooed with worry. Smoke rose from where the thing had crashed. Orange flames danced in the distance. Trees that had been growing there for 50 years were now broken and burning. "Should we call someone?" asked 12-year-old Taemin. He was the smart one who always asked good questions. "Call who?" Dae-ho said. "The nearest town is 2 hours away by truck. By the time help arrives, whatever that was might be gone or burned up completely." 8-year-old Nari tugged on her father's shirt. "Maybe someone is hurt in there, father. We should go help them." Dae-ho looked at his youngest daughter. She always worried about others. Last week she had cried when she found a bird with a broken wing. The week before that, she had brought home a stray cat even though they already had 2 cats. "Nari is right," Minji said. "If that was some kind of aircraft, there might be people inside who need help." Dae-ho thought about it. His wife had died 3 years ago, and since then he had been very careful about keeping his children safe. He did not like the idea of walking toward something that had just fallen from space. But he also did not like the idea of someone dying while he stood around doing nothing. "Okay," he said, "but we stay together, and if anything looks dangerous, we run back to the house immediately." They walked across their property toward the crash site. The closer they got, the stranger everything looked. The smoke did not smell like burning wood or metal. It smelled sweet, like flowers, but also sharp, like the air before a lightning storm. When they climbed over the hill that separated their house from the rice fields, they saw something that made them all stop walking. It was not an aircraft from Earth. It was nothing like anything they had ever seen before. The thing was huge and made of dark metal that seemed to shine with its own light. Parts of it were buried deep in the ground. Other parts stuck up into the air like the ribs of some giant animal. Strange symbols glowed along its sides. The symbols pulsed with blue and purple light, like a heartbeat made of electricity. Steam rose from cracks in the metal hull. "That is not from our world," Minji whispered. Taemin nodded. "It's a spaceship. A real spaceship from another planet." Nari was the first one to start walking toward it again. "If it's from another planet, then maybe there are space people inside who need our help." "Nari, wait!" Dae-ho called, but his daughter was already running down the hill toward the crashed ship. They hurried after her. As they got closer, they could see that part of the ship had split open during the crash. Twisted metal pointed in all directions. Sparks flew from broken wires. Strange liquids dripped from damaged pipes. Then they heard a sound that made them all freeze. It was a roar, deep and powerful, like thunder rolling across the mountains. But it was not thunder. It was alive. It was angry. And it was coming from inside the ship. Something moved in the shadows of the broken hull. Something big. "Maybe we should go back to the house now," Taemin said quietly. But before anyone could move, the thing inside the ship came out. It was like a dragon from the old stories, but different. It stood on 2 legs like a person, but it was 12 feet tall. Its skin was covered in scales that looked black at first, but when the light hit them right, they showed colors like deep space, dark blue and purple and green. Its head was long and sharp, with eyes that glowed like stars. Its arms ended in hands with claws that could probably cut through steel. A long tail swept back and forth behind it, knocking pieces of wreckage out of the way. This was Vorthak the Destroyer, though the Kim family did not know her name yet. She had conquered 17 star systems. She had destroyed entire fleets of warships. She had never known fear, and she had never shown mercy. She stepped out of her ruined ship and looked around at this strange new world. Her body hurt from the crash. Her ship was damaged beyond quick repair. Her weapon systems were mostly offline. But none of that mattered right now because standing in front of her were 4 small creatures that looked like nothing she had ever seen before. They were tiny and soft and weak-looking. They would be easy to kill. Vorthak raised her arm. Built into her wrist was a plasma cannon that could burn through tank armor. She pointed it at the family standing before her. The adult male pushed the 3 smaller ones behind him. He was trying to protect them, even though he had to know he could not. Vorthak had seen this behavior before, on other worlds, just before she destroyed entire civilizations. She was about to fire when the smallest creature stepped out from behind the adult male. It was barely as tall as Vorthak's knee. It had long, black hair and big dark eyes. It looked up at her without fear, which was strange. Most creatures ran screaming when they saw her. The little creature reached down and picked something from the ground. A flower. A small yellow flower that had somehow survived the crash and the fire. It held the flower up toward Vorthak. "Are you hurt?" the small creature asked in a voice soft and gentle. Vorthak stared down at the tiny being offering her a flower. In all her years of conquest across all the worlds she had destroyed, no one had ever asked if she was hurt. No one had ever offered her a gift. No one had ever looked at her with anything but terror. She did not understand what was happening. Her training told her to kill these creatures immediately. Her weapons were ready. It would take less than a second, but something about the way the little one looked at her, something about the flower being held up like an offering of friendship, made her hesitate. That hesitation lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the injuries. From her crash, the ones she had been ignoring because of her warrior training finally caught up with her. Pain shot through her body like lightning. Her vision went dark around the edges. Vorthak the Destroyer, conqueror of star systems, fell, unconscious in a rice field, still staring at a small yellow flower. The giant alien creature lay still on the ground. Her massive body rose and fell slowly with each breath. Dark blue blood seeped from cuts on her arms and legs where sharp metal from the crash had torn through her scales. Deho stared at the unconscious being. His first thought was to take his children and run back to the house. His second thought was to call the military or the government or someone who might know what to do with a crashed alien. But his third thought won. "She's hurt," he said, quietly. "Father, what are we going to do?" Minji asked. She tried to keep her voice calm, but her hands were shaking. "We should help her," little Nari said. She still held the yellow flower in her small hands. "She was going to hurt us, but then she didn't. Maybe she's not as scary as she looks." Taemin kicked at a piece of dirt. "How can we help her? She's huge, and she's an alien. We don't even know if our medicine will work on her." Deho looked at his children. His wife had always said that kindness was the most important thing they could teach their kids, even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous. "Your mother used to say that we help people who need help. She never said anything about only helping people from Earth." Minji stepped closer to the fallen alien. "Look at these wounds. Some of them are pretty deep. If we don't do something, she might bleed to death." "But where would we put her?" Taemin asked. "She's too big for our house." Deho thought about this. Their house was small, but their barn was large. They had built it big enough to store hay and farm equipment. It might be just big enough for their unexpected guest. The barn, he said, We can move some things around and make space in the barn. How are we going to move her? Minji asked. She must weigh as much as Bokshil. That was when they discovered that the alien was not as heavy as she looked. Her bones seemed to be hollow, like a bird's bones. Her scales were light but strong. Working together, the four of them were able to drag her slowly across the fields toward their farm. It took them almost 2 hours. They had to stop many times to rest. The alien woman stayed unconscious the whole time, which was probably good because Daeho was not sure what would happen when she woke up. They cleared out half the barn and laid her on a bed of soft hay and old blankets. Minji brought medical supplies from the house while Taemin set up some lights so they could see what they were doing. I don't know if human medicine will work on her, Minji said as she looked at the wounds. But the cuts need to be cleaned and bandaged. Nari sat cross-legged next to the alien's head. What's her name, do you think? We don't know, Daeho said. We don't even know if she can speak Korean. They worked through the evening cleaning and bandaging the alien's wounds. Her blood was thick and dark blue, almost purple. Her skin felt warm, like she had a fever. But they had no way to know if that was normal for her species. When they were finished, Daeho sent the children to the house to eat dinner and get ready for bed. He stayed in the barn, sitting in an old chair, watching their strange guest sleep. He wondered what he had gotten his family into. This creature had clearly been ready to attack them before she collapsed. What would happen when she woke up? Would she be grateful for their help, or would she finish what she had started to do in the rice field? But looking at her now, unconscious and hurt, she did not seem like a monster. She seemed like someone far from home who had been in a terrible accident. The next morning, Minji brought breakfast to the barn. The alien was still unconscious, but her breathing seemed stronger. I've been thinking, Minji said as she set down a tray of rice and soup. At school we learned that all living things need water and some kind of food for energy. Maybe we should try to give her some water when she wakes up. Taemin had been examining the alien's hands. Look at these claws. They're sharp, but they don't look like they're just for fighting. See these smaller fingers? I think she uses tools like we do. Maybe she's intelligent like us. Of course she's intelligent, Nari said. She was sitting next to the alien again, this time with a book of children's stories. She has a spaceship. You have to be smart to build spaceships. That afternoon, while Daeho was working in the vegetable garden, Minji came running from the barn. Father, she's waking up. They all hurried to the barn. The alien's eyes were open. They were large and golden, like the sun, but somehow gentle. She looked around slowly, taking in her surroundings. When she saw the family standing near her, she tried to sit up quickly. Pain shot through her injured body and she fell back onto the hay with a soft groan. Easy, Daeho said, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. You're hurt. You need to rest. The alien stared at him. Then she spoke, and her voice was deep and musical, like distant thunder. Why? She asked in perfect Korean. The family looked at each other in surprise. Not only could she speak their language, but she had learned it just by listening to them talk over the past day and night. Why what? Minji asked. Why did you help me? The alien's golden eyes moved from one face to another. I was going to kill you. Little Nari stepped forward with a bowl of soup in her hands. Because you were hurt. When someone is hurt, you help them. That's what good people do. The alien looked at the bowl of soup like it was the strangest thing she had ever seen. I don't understand. You should fear me. All creatures fear me. Maybe we should, Taemin said honestly. But you didn't hurt us when you could have. And now you're hurt, so we want to help you get better. What are you called? Nari asked. What's your name? The alien was quiet for a long moment. I am Vorthak. I am a destroyer of worlds. Well, Vorthak, Daeho said, sitting down in his chair. Right now you look like someone who needs soup and rest. Destroying worlds can wait until you're feeling better. Vorthak stared at him. In her 300 years of life, no one had ever told her that destroying worlds could wait. No one had ever cared if she was feeling better. She did not know what to do with this kindness. Nari held out the bowl of soup again. It's vegetable soup with rice. My mother used to make it when we were sick. It always made us feel better. Vorthak looked at the small human child offering her food instead of weapons. Everything about this situation went against her training, against her nature, against everything she thought she knew about how the universe worked. But she was hungry. And the soup smelled good, and these strange creatures seemed to actually care about her well-being. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took the bowl. It was the first act of kindness she had ever accepted in her entire life. Vorthak finished the soup slowly. Each spoonful tasted different from anything she had ever eaten before. It was warm and gentle, not like the nutrient paste she usually consumed between battles. When she was done, she set the bowl aside and looked at the 4 humans watching her. "You should run away from me," she said. "I am dangerous." "You don't seem very dangerous right now," Nari said. She sat down on the hay near Vorthak's large hand. "You seem sad and hurt." Vorthak stared at the small child. "I am not sad. I do not feel sadness. I am a weapon. Weapons do not have feelings." "But you do have feelings," Minji said. "I can see it in your eyes. You're confused about why we helped you." This was true, but Vorthak did not want to admit it. Her whole life had been about conquest and destruction. She had been created in a laboratory, designed to be the perfect warrior. Her DNA had been changed to make her stronger, faster, and more deadly than any natural creature. But something about this family made her feel strange inside. She did not understand why they were being kind to her when she had been ready to kill them. "Tell us about your home," Taman said. He had brought a chair into the barn so he could sit closer to their guest. "What's it like where you come from?" Vorthak thought about this question. No one had ever asked her about her home before. "My world is gray and cold. There are many factories where warriors like me are made. We train from the moment we can walk. We learn to fight and to conquer other worlds." "That sounds lonely," Nari said. "Lonely?" Vorthak had never heard this word used to describe her life. "I have my battle unit. Other warriors fight beside me." "But, do you have friends?" Nari asked. "Do you have family? People who care about you just because you're you, not because you're good at fighting?" Vorthak was quiet for a long time. She had battle partners, but they were not friends. They would leave her behind if she became weak or injured. That was the way of her people. "No," she said finally. "I do not have those things." "Well, you have us now," Nari said with a big smile. "We care about you because you're here and you need help." These words hit Vorthak like a plasma blast to her chest. She did not know how to respond. In her world, you were valued only for what you could do, not for who you were. Over the next few days, the Kim family developed a routine with their unusual house guest. In the mornings, Minji would bring breakfast and ask questions about Vorthak's home planet and her species. She was studying to be a scientist and wanted to understand everything about alien biology. "Your bones are hollow like a bird's bones," Minji observed one morning as she changed Vorthak's bandages. "That's why you're not as heavy as you look. Does that help you move faster in battle?" Vorthak found herself explaining things she had never talked about before. How her people had evolved on a world with heavy gravity. How their bones were strong but light. How their scales could change color slightly to blend with their surroundings. In the afternoons, Taman would visit. He was fascinated by Vorthak's crashed spaceship and wanted to understand how it worked. With Vorthak's permission, he had been exploring the wreckage and taking notes. "The metal your ship is made from. Taman said, holding up a small piece. He had found, "It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's stronger than steel but lighter than aluminum. How do your people make it?" Vorthak explained the process, surprised to find that she enjoyed teaching the young human about technology. Taman was clever and asked good questions. He reminded her of herself when she was young, before the military training had taken away. Her curiosity about things other than war. In the evenings, Nari would come with her books. She would sit next to Vorthak and read stories out loud. Sometimes they were fairy tales about princesses and dragons. Sometimes they were stories about friendship and kindness. "Why do you read to me?" Vorthak asked one evening after a story. "About a lonely giant who found a family." "Because stories help us understand things," Nari said. "And because I think you've never heard stories like these before." This was true. On Vorthak's world, the only stories were about great battles and glorious conquests. No one told stories about kindness or friendship or love. Deho would often sit with them in the evenings, working on small repairs around the farm while keeping Vorthak company. He did not ask many questions, but his presence was comfortable and peaceful. "You work very hard," Vorthak observed one evening as she watched him fix a broken tool. "Farming is hard work," Deho agreed. "But it's good work. We grow food that helps people live. We take care of the land so it can take care of us." Vorthak thought about this. She had spent her life destroying things. She had never built anything or helped anything grow. The idea of creating instead of destroying was completely new to her. As her injuries healed, Vorthak found herself wanting to help the family that had helped her. Her great strength made many farm tasks much easier. She could lift heavy bales of hay that would take 2 humans to carry. She could reach high branches to pick fruit. She could pull weeds from the garden without bending over. "You don't have to work," Deho told her one morning as she helped him repair a fence that had been broken by a storm. "You're still recovering." "I want to help," Vorthak said, and realized that she meant it. For the first time in her life, she was doing something because she wanted to, not because she had been ordered to do it. The work felt different from battle. It was peaceful and satisfying. When they finished fixing the fence, Vorthak looked at their accomplishment and felt something she had never felt before. Pride, but not the fierce pride of conquest. This was a gentle pride, the satisfaction of building something useful instead of destroying something beautiful. That night, as she lay in the barn listening to the sounds of the family getting ready for bed in the house, Vorthak felt something else she had never experienced before. She felt like she belonged somewhere, but this feeling scared her more than any enemy she had ever faced in battle. Warriors like her were not supposed to belong anywhere except on the battlefield. They were not supposed to care about gentle things like gardens and stories and warm soup. Yet here she was, caring about all of these things and about the people who had shown them to her. She told herself that she was just getting stronger before she continued on her mission of conquest. She told herself that this was temporary, that soon she would repair her ship and leave this world behind. But deep in her heart, in a place she had never known existed, she began to hope that maybe she could stay a little longer. Maybe she could stay forever. 2 months had passed since Vorthak's ship had crashed in the Kim family's rice field. Her wounds had healed completely, leaving only faint silver lines on her dark scales. She was stronger now than she had been before the crash. But she made no move to repair her ship or leave the farm. Every morning she helped Deho with the heavy work around the farm. Every afternoon she answered Minji's endless questions about alien science and biology. Every evening she listened to Nari read stories and learned new Korean words. She had become part of the family's daily rhythm, but everything changed on a cold Tuesday morning in early winter. Nari woke up with a fever. At first, it seemed like a normal childhood illness. Deho gave her medicine and made her stay in bed. Minji brought her soup and read to her. Taman drew pictures to make her laugh. But by evening, Nari was much worse. Her fever was so high that she was talking to people who were not there. Her breathing was fast and shallow. Her skin was pale and covered with sweat. "We need to take her to the hospital," Minji said, her voice tight with worry. Daeho was already getting the truck ready. The nearest hospital was 2 hours away over rough mountain roads. In Nari's condition, the trip would be dangerous, but staying home would be worse. Vorthak watched them prepare to leave and felt something terrible growing in her chest. It was fear, but not the kind of fear she knew from battle. This was deeper and more painful. It was the fear of losing someone she cared about. "Wait," she said as Daeho carried Nari toward the truck. "Let me see her." Daeho hesitated, then brought his daughter closer. Nari's eyes were closed, and she was breathing in short, quick gasps. Her small hand was burning hot with fever. Vorthak had seen this illness before. On other worlds her people had conquered. It was caused by a virus that jumped between species, when aliens and humans first made contact. On most worlds it killed many people before doctors could find a cure. But Vorthak's ship had medical equipment that was hundreds of years more advanced than anything on Earth. "I can help her," Vorthak said. "My ship has medicine that can cure this sickness." "Your ship is wrecked," Taemin said. "The medical bay is still working. I checked it last week, but didn't think I would need it." Daeho looked at his youngest daughter, then at the alien who had become part of their family. "What do you need to do?" "Bring her to my ship. I can synthesize a cure from my medical database, but we have to hurry. This virus works fast." They carried Nari through the dark fields to the crash site. Vorthak led them through the twisted wreckage to a section of the ship that was still intact. Inside, strange blue lights glowed from panels covered with alien symbols. Vorthak's clawed. Hands moved quickly over the controls. Machines hummed to life. A scanner emerged from the wall and passed over Nari's small body, taking readings that appeared on a screen in symbols the humans could not understand. "The virus is attacking her." "Nervous system," Vorthak explained as she worked. "Without treatment, she will die within hours. But I can make a medicine that will destroy the virus and repair the damage it has caused." A machine in the wall began producing a clear liquid in a small vial. The process took 30 minutes that felt like 30 hours to the worried family. When it was finished, Vorthak filled a medical injector with the cure. "This will hurt for a moment, but then she will get better quickly." She gave Nari the injection. For a few scary minutes, nothing happened. Then Nari's fever began to drop. Her breathing became easier. Color returned to her pale cheeks. An hour later, Nari opened her eyes and smiled at her family. "I had the strangest dreams," she said in a weak but clear voice. Daeho hugged his daughter carefully, tears running down his face. "You're going to be fine now." "Did Vorthak save me?" Nari asked. "Yes," Minji said. "She saved your life." Nari looked at the tall alien who stood nearby, trying to stay out of the way of the family reunion. "Thank you, Vorthak." The alien warrior, who had conquered 17 star systems, felt her throat tighten with an emotion she could not name. "You are welcome, little one." As they walked back to the house, Daeho fell into step beside Vorthak. "Why did you save her? You could have let us take her to the hospital. You didn't have to use your advanced medicine." Vorthak was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised even herself. "Because she is mine to protect now." Daeho stopped walking and looked at her. "What do you mean?" "On my world, warriors claim territory and defend it. But I have never claimed anything except battlefields." Vorthak looked back at the house where warm light glowed in the windows. "This place, this family, you have become my territory. You are mine to protect." "Is that what we are to you?" Daeho asked. "Territory?" Vorthak shook her head slowly. "No, you are something more. Something I do not have words for in my language." "Family," Daeho said quietly. The word you are looking for is family. That night, Nari insisted that Vorthak sit with her while she fell asleep. As the little girl drifted off, she reached out and took one of Vorthak's large clawed fingers in her small hand. "Vorthak," she whispered. "Yes, I'm glad you crashed in our field. Why?" "Because now you're our dragon mom." Vorthak felt something break open inside her chest. Dragon mom. She had been called destroyer, conqueror, weapon, monster, but never mom. Never something gentle and protective and loving. "Dragon mom," she repeated softly, testing how the words felt. They felt right. They felt like coming home. Over the next few weeks, something fundamental changed in Vorthak. She had always defined herself by what she could destroy. Now she began to think about what she could protect and nurture instead. She used her ship's technology to improve the farm's irrigation system, making the crops grow better than ever before. She scared away the wild animals that had been stealing from their gardens. She fixed things that were broken and made things that were difficult become easy. But most importantly, she watched over the family that had given her something she had never thought possible. A reason to choose creation over destruction, love over conquest, home over wandering through the stars looking for new worlds to destroy. For the first time in her 300 years of life, Vorthak the Destroyer began to understand what it meant to be truly happy. Winter turned to spring on the quiet farming planet. The Kim family's crops grew better than they ever had before, thanks to Vorthak's advanced technology. The farm prospered, and so did the unusual family that now included a former destroyer of worlds. But peace never lasts forever. On a warm evening in late spring, while Vorthak was helping Taman repair the farm's old tractor, she noticed something that made her blood turn cold. 3 bright stars had appeared in the night sky where no stars had been before. The stars were moving. "We need to get inside," Vorthak said quietly. "Now." "What's wrong?" Taman asked, looking up from the engine he was working on. "Those are not stars. Those are ships. My people have found me." The family gathered in the kitchen while Vorthak explained what was happening. A fleet of draconic prime warships had entered the solar system. They were here to find out why one of their destroyers had disappeared 6 months ago. "What will they do when they find you?" Minji asked. "They will expect me to report that this world is ready for conquest," Vorthak said. "They will want me to help them destroy your cities and enslave your people." Nari, who was now completely healthy thanks to Vorthak's medicine, climbed into the alien's lap. "But you won't do that, will you? You're our dragon mom now." Vorthak looked down at the small girl who trusted her completely. 6 months ago, she would have carried out her orders without question. She would have helped destroy this world and everyone on it, but that was before she learned what kindness felt like, before she discovered the joy of helping things grow instead of watching them burn. Before she found a family that loved her for who she was, not what she could destroy. "No," she said firmly. "I will not help them hurt you." Daeho sat down across from them at the kitchen table. "What are our options?" "I can hide," Vorthak said. "If they don't find me, they might search for a while and then leave." "Where would you hide?" Taman asked. "They probably have scanners that can detect you anywhere on the planet." This was true. Vorthak's people had technology that could find a single person anywhere on a world. Hiding would only work for a short time. "I could go with them," Vorthak said quietly. "I could pretend that I was exploring this world and that it's not worth conquering. I could tell them the people here are too primitive to bother with." "Would they believe that?" Minji asked. "Maybe, if I was convincing enough." "But then you would have to leave with them," Nari said. "You would have to go back to being a destroyer instead of our dragon mom." Vorthak felt pain in her chest at the thought of leaving this family and returning to her old life of conquest and destruction. She had been happier in the past 6 months than in all her previous 300 years combined. "There is a third option," she said slowly. "I could fight them." The kitchen was quiet for a long moment. "Could you win?" Daeho asked. "I don't know. There are 3 ships. Each one carries 50 warriors like me. I am 1 against 150. "That doesn't sound like good odds," Taemin said. "In a normal battle, no. But I would not be fighting for conquest or glory. I would be fighting to protect my family. That might make me stronger than I have ever been before." Over the next 2 days, the alien ships moved closer to the planet. Vorthak spent the time preparing for battle. She repaired her armor and weapons. She studied the tactical information about the ships that was stored in her own vessel's computer, but mostly she spent time with the family that had changed her life. On the last evening before the ships would arrive, they had dinner together in the kitchen. Nari had picked flowers from the garden to put on the table. Minji had cooked Vorthak's favorite soup. Taemin had fixed the old radio so they could listen to music while they ate. It felt like a goodbye dinner, even though no one said the word goodbye. After the children went to bed, Vorthak sat with Daeho on the porch of the farmhouse. They looked up at the stars, including the 3 bright ones that were getting closer every hour. "I want you to know," Vorthak said, "that these have been the best months of my life." "They've been pretty good for us, too," Daeho said. "The kids have learned so much from you, and you've helped our farm more than I can ever repay. You have given me something worth more than all the worlds I have conquered," Vorthak said. "You have given me a home and a family, and a reason to choose love over destruction." "You don't have to fight them alone," Daeho said. "This is our world, too. We should help defend it." Vorthak shook her head. "Your weapons cannot hurt their ships. Your people are not trained for this kind of battle. The best way you can help is to stay safe while I do what I was made to do." "But you weren't made to do this," Daeho said. "You were made to conquer worlds. Now you're choosing to protect one instead." "Yes," Vorthak said, "and that choice makes all the difference." The next morning, the 3 alien ships landed in the same field where Vorthak had crashed 6 months earlier. Soldiers in dark armor emerged from the vessels. Their leader was a tall warrior that Vorthak recognized. Zirath the Annihilator had been her battle partner for 50 years. They had conquered 7 worlds together. He was as deadly as she was, and completely loyal to the Draconic Empire. Vorthak walked out to meet them. She wore her battle armor but carried no weapons. The Kim family watched from the windows of their house, scared but trying to be brave. "Vorthak," Zirath called out as she approached, "you have been missing for 6 months. The High Command was beginning to think you were dead." "I have been studying this world," Vorthak replied, "learning about its people and their capabilities." "And what have you learned?" Zirath asked. "Are they ready for conquest?" Vorthak looked back at the farmhouse where her chosen family waited. She thought about Nari's trusting smile, about Minji's curious questions, about Taemin's clever mind, about Daeho's steady kindness. She thought about what it felt like to help things grow instead of watching them burn. "I have learned," she said, turning back to face Zirath, "that this world is under my protection." Zirath stared at her. "What did you say?" "You heard me correctly. This world and its people are under my protection. You will not harm them." "Have you lost your mind?" Zirath demanded. "We are destroyers, not protectors. It is our purpose to conquer worlds, not defend them." "My purpose has changed," Vorthak said quietly. "I choose protection over conquest. I choose love over destruction. I choose family over empire." Zirath drew his weapon. Behind him, 150 draconic warriors did the same. "Then you have chosen to die," he said. Vorthak smiled, and for the first time in her life, it was not the smile of a predator about to strike. It was the smile of someone who had found something worth dying for. "No," she said. "I have chosen to live." The battle that followed was unlike anything in the history of the Draconic Empire. Vorthak fought not with the cold fury of a destroyer, but with the fierce love of a mother protecting her children. Every move she made was calculated not to destroy her enemies, but to defend her home. She used the farm's landscape to her advantage, turning irrigation ditches into traps and using the barn as cover. Her knowledge of draconic tactics helped her predict what Zerath and his warriors would do next. But most importantly, she fought, with a purpose she had never had before. She was not fighting for glory or conquest. She was fighting for Nari's laugh and Minji's curiosity and Taemin's inventions and Daeho's quiet wisdom. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, Zerath lay defeated in the rice field, where Vorthak had first crashed. Most of his warriors were unconscious but alive. Vorthak had been careful not to kill them, even though they had tried to kill her. "I don't understand," Zerath gasped as Vorthak stood over him. "How did you become so strong? You were always a great warrior, but this was something different." "I found something worth protecting," Vorthak replied. "It made me stronger than I ever was when I only knew how to destroy." Zerath looked toward the farmhouse where the Kim family stood watching. "Those small creatures? They made you betray your own people?" "They didn't make me do anything," Vorthak said. "They showed me that there was a choice. I chose love over hatred, family over empire, building over destroying." "The High Command will never accept this," Zerath warned. "They will send more ships, bigger fleets. They will not stop until you are dead and this world is conquered." Vorthak smiled. "Then I will fight them too, and I will keep fighting them until they understand that some things are worth more than conquest." She helped Zerath to his feet. "Go back to the Empire. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that one of their destroyers chose to become a protector instead. Maybe some of the others will start to wonder if there might be a better way to live." "You're letting us go?" Zerath asked in surprise. "I'm giving you a choice," Vorthak said. "The same choice this family gave me 6 months ago. You can keep following orders and destroying worlds, or you can find something worth protecting and become something better than what you were made to be." Zerath and his warriors returned to their ships and left the planet. But before they did, Vorthak saw something in Zerath's eyes that had never been there before. Doubt. Questions. The beginning of wondering if there might be more to existence than endless conquest. After the ships disappeared into the stars, the Kim family ran out to the field where Vorthak stood watching the sky. "Are they gone?" Nari asked, hugging Vorthak's leg. "For now," Vorthak said. "They will probably come back eventually. But when they do, I'll be ready for them." "We'll be ready for them," Daeho corrected. "This is our home too, and we'll help. Defend it." Over the following months, Vorthak used her technology to set up defenses around the planet. She built communication systems that would warn Earth's governments if more draconic ships approached. She shared some of her advanced knowledge with human scientists, helping them develop better medicine and cleaner energy. But most importantly, she continued to be part of the Kim family. Minji graduated from agricultural college and became one of Earth's first xenobiologists, studying alien life forms and helping establish peaceful contact with other species. She used everything Vorthak had taught her to build bridges between different worlds. Taemin started a company that combined human creativity with alien technology. His inventions helped make life better for people all over Earth. He never forgot the lessons about building instead of destroying that he had learned from his alien sister. Nari grew up bilingual in Korean and Draconic. She became Earth's first ambassador to reform Draconic worlds, helping other destroyers make the same choice Vorthak had made. Her childhood friendship with an alien warrior gave her a unique understanding of how different species could learn to love instead of fear each other. And Daeho continued farming, now with the help of the most unusual farmhand in the galaxy. The farm became famous throughout human space as the place where an alien destroyer had chosen to become a protector. People came from all over to see where the greatest transformation in galactic history had begun. But to the Kim family, it was just home. 5 years after the battle in the rice field, Nari was reading in the barn where Vorthak had first awakened to kindness. She was 13 now, smart and curious and brave like her older siblings. Vorthak was working nearby, repairing a piece of farm equipment with the same careful precision she had once used for weapons of war. "Vorthak?" Nari said, looking up from her book. "Yes." "Do you ever miss your old life? Being a destroyer instead of a dragon mom?" Vorthak set down her tools and thought about the question. She remembered the empty feeling of conquest, the loneliness of having no one who cared about her except as a weapon. She remembered the cold satisfaction of destroying things instead of the warm joy of helping them grow. "No," she said finally. "I don't miss it at all. Even though it was probably easier. You didn't have to worry about anyone except yourself." "It was easier," Vorthak agreed, "but it was also empty. I didn't understand what I was missing until I found it here." "What were you missing?" Vorthak smiled and sat down next to the girl who had offered her a flower and called her Dragon Mom. "Love," she said simply. "I was missing love." Nari leaned against her alien sister's arm. "I'm glad you found it." "So am I," Vorthak said. Outside the barn, spring rain began to fall on the fields where new crops were growing. The sound was peaceful and gentle, like a lullaby for the earth itself. Vorthak listened to the rain and felt the warmth of the child beside her and knew that she had made the right choice. She had been created to be a destroyer of worlds, but she had chosen to become something much more important. She had chosen to become a mother, a sister, a daughter, a protector of the small and gentle things that made life worth living, and in making that choice, she had not only saved one world, she had begun a transformation that would eventually change the entire galaxy, as other destroyers heard her story and began to wonder if they too might choose love over conquest. The dragon had not been meant to be a mother, but sometimes the most beautiful changes happen when love decides to rewrite the rules of what was meant to be. And in the end, love always wins.